Starting your lock or natural hair journey is oh so rewarding, but can be extremely stressful when you start to consider what products to use. If that's you, then look no further. Locklicious is a Black-owned company that has created an all-natural product line for locked and loose natural crowns. The Locklicious team works hard to ensure that their products are free of parabens, phthalates, sulfates, PEG, synthetics, and other toxic chemicals you find in other products. Best of all, the products are lightweight and will not leave residue or cause buildup. Go to locklicious.com to start treating your crown like royalty.
Putting into consideration our culture, culture plays a big role for a lot of decisions we make here. Because as a woman, as a wife, your husband cheats on you, really you shouldn't kick him out of the bedroom, right? Because he's the father of the house. He's, why if you're kicking him? It's a very patriarchal society, right? So don't kick the man out of the house. That's his house. At least he's coming home to you. Those are all considerations that we have to think about when we're giving advice, right? So I see that the purpose, that's my purpose. I'm helping women in Africa realize their power, right? Yes, we respect the man, but he must respect you too. And that for me comes from having lived overseas and experienced a different life and see that actually you can set boundaries in a relationship. It doesn't always have to be his way or the highway. We come together and we make a decision here, and if my boundaries have been crossed, I can perk up and say that. And I can encourage other women, other girls, that you don't stay with a man that rapes you. That's a no. You don't get, some girls get raped, get pregnant from the rape, and to avoid embarrassment of their family, they're told to marry this man. You have to marry him. That's an embarrassment to us because you're pregnant. I'm serious.
Wait, hold on. You mean to tell me a family would tell their daughter
100%
to marry a man that would do that to them?
100%.
Oh, hell no.
Because you're defiled?
You couldn't have me on that show. Because I would be like, man, I don't know what's wrong with your family.
Yeah.
I say, I wouldn't want to be with that family.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not trying to be offensive, but just, no. Matter of fact, the family need to come see him, and he needs to be missing.
100%. And that's a privilege we have. That's a privilege you and I have because we've lived in another world, right? And you know of another world. Other people, they just don't. All they know is the country they live in, maybe even just the city that they live in, and even church here, even religion plays a huge part. A lot of the countries in Africa are religious, but the religion says, don't have your shoulders out at church because the minister is going to feel like you've tempted him. No, minister, sir, if my shoulders are a problem to you, you need Jesus. You know what I'm saying? But that's a privilege we have. A lot of women, a lot of girls don't have that privilege because you don't want to tempt the man of God. That's the rule here. We don't tempt the man of God. We wear long skirts. We don't show our shoulders when you're coming to church. Why? Because you would tempt a man. That man needs more than my shoulders to be saved. So that's the power that I think I bring generally to the show, and I think to the continent at large is really where I'm trying to go as well. How do we empower these girls? How do we empower these women to know that they can stand on their own 2 feet? As much as it's a patriarchal society, so many homes are female-led. So we can do this. We can absolutely do this. But we're made to think that we can't, and we're not enough. And unless you're married, my God, if you're not married and you're 38, what an embarrassment to the family.
Let me touch on that, because I'm in America. And the problem we have in America with a lot of our families is, like, let's say back in the 1950s, marriage was very high. Today, we have marriage that's very, very low in America. And we need family, more than ever. And one thing that I do appreciate about the continent is that they still believe in a family structure. Because I see the difference when you don't have family structure and your community will be destroyed, So a lot of us now see that, I think we need to go back to family. Now I don't believe you should be with someone that you don't love, or definitely don't be with someone that rapes you or something like that. Hell no. But what I'm saying is, I've seen the injection of feminism in the Black community, and feminism was a struggle between the white woman and the white man. That's their problem. when the white woman wanted to get the black woman on the feminism tip, right? It ended up hurting the black family. So I would never want to see feminism coming to the African continent. I believe in equality for men and women. I believe in that. I got daughters, so I want my daughters treated less than just because they're going to grow up to be women, you know. But I just feminism is a bad topic for me. I don't like it.
I think. See, I believe that the reason that I feel like feminism continues to and it's gaining strength, I actually blame men, because I see a lot of lack of leadership. Men are not men anymore. Men are not raised to be men anymore. We're lacking a lot of leadership in these homes, leadership in communities, you know, because of realizing the strength of women. I don't know if that's the case, where you realize that women are strong, so I don't need to do anything. Or is it that because we got into this space where there were a lot of women-led homes for whatever reason, whether it was men went, like for here in South Africa, you know, Johannesburg is actually known as Igoli, you know, the gold, where men came to mine here and left their wives to raise their families while they were looking for money. So a lot of the homes then became women-led, because as much as you're going out to work in Johannesburg and look for money, the family still needs a man. Every day it matters to show up as a husband, show up as a father, show up as a brother, every single day. And because there's that disconnect, then we end up feeling like we have to lead. It's very abnormal for us, I think, as women. We're not made that way, right? But we've had to become that way, because it's me or nothing. It's nothing for these children. It's nothing for this family. You know, yes, he's sending money, but we have the money, but I must now make a decision about which schools the children go to. And that's on me. I must make a decision about whether it's what activities our son gets into. That's got nothing to do with me as a woman. You know, that's why you end up having like boys that don't know how to hunt or be men, because they were raised by their mom, and the mom knows that, listen, we need to cook and we need to get things going. Food has to be put on the table. We must do what we have to do. Who's teaching him to be a man? And who is this woman leaning onto as her man? Who's her strength? Who's her safety? Where does she go to for protection? She protects herself. And that's how feminism rises. Because men, I believe 100% that not all men, but the society in general, men have let us down. And they need to rise us up again. They need to hold us up.
Well, I can only speak about America and not this society. In America, straight, alpha, strong men are attacked and oppressed a lot in America, right? If you are that kind of man, oh, that's toxic masculinity, that's this and that and the third. And we've seen the results of basically single mothers raising, especially the boys. Women can raise a daughter, and even when the dad's not around, that affects the women as well, because when no dad's around, then your daughter can fall prey to, you know, a guy with a silver tongue, you know, or we having sons now who's, because he's been around mama and he been watching you put earrings on and makeup and all that, now the son wants to copy you, you know, and then you have this, you know, and Dr. Francis Cress Welsing had predicted, you know, even especially in the West, how black male masculinity is attacked, and they want to feminize the black man. Right? So between because at least in the West, they want to push the black woman above the black man and give them jobs and opportunity, but the black man, they don't, and create that unequal balance, at least in the West. I'm not speaking about here. So you have single parent households, you have men kind of in this weird space, and then now a lot of men, because of the rules in America, because like I say, once again, I go back to feminism, where the child support and the alimony, I mean, you've been in the West, and all the spousal support and all that. A lot of men like, you know what, I'm not trying to get married. I don't want nothing to do with it, you know, but we still having kids though, you know, so then you have a lot of single parent households, which I think will destroy a community. I know it's destroyed a lot of things even in our community, and we trying to unravel that. So the men here, I can only, you know, I know they got to work, but I'm like, are they just, what kind of jobs they're doing when they don't come home?
Well, that was in the past, right?
Okay, so, what about today?
So where we are today is men do work mostly. There are a lot of homes where it's the man mostly works and makes the most money and provides for his family. But there's still that leadership of a man, I think, that I just don't see a lot.
Well, what do you define as leadership?
Leadership, and so I'm a Christian. I'm sure you've made this out by now. Leadership for me is when we take it back to even to the Bible, right? Really, the children's spiritual growth is actually supposed to be, I think the Bible says, I don't even remember the verse, but it says something about, as a man, do not be afraid to speak the word over your children and to your children. To me, that's, then even just spiritual leadership is up to him. But who's pushing to go to church? Who's pushing the word on the children? It's mostly the wives. It's mostly the women. If we don't go to church, the husband is not pushing that. That alone speaks volumes, right? Because he went out last night, he's drunk, he's got a hangover, don't bother daddy, because, we don't want to piss him off because he's got to go to work on Monday, or he provides so much for us. If he doesn't want to go to church, that's cool. Let's go to church. Right there. What is he teaching his sons in the house? You only have to do this because your mother says it. But monkey see, monkey do. He's not going to be a spiritual leader for his family. He's just not. He just doesn't know how to.
Mm-hmm. So outside of spirituality, when you say the term leadership, what else outside of that that entails, you say, you letting me down? What is he not doing outside of that? What is he not doing? Or in general, what you describe as leadership.
Yeah.
What else? Give me like 3 or 4 things that you say, boom, 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 boom.
So, and I spoke a little bit too about schools, for example. Like, he goes to work, he comes home, he gives money. And I don't want to say all the homes, but a lot of homes that I know of, this is generally how it goes. The wife comes and says, the kid is ready for school. He says, how much is it? And then he's not been involved in the kind of school that this child is enrolled in. What do you see in our son? What kind of school do we look for? I think that's the leadership. He doesn't have to make the decisions by himself, but surely to have a discussion with surely bring something to the table and say, you know what, I've heard of this school. Our boy can outrun any little boy out there. He must go to a school that's completely, not all sports, but very good in sports, or very good academically. Our boy, he is smart. We cannot let him down. He must go to the best private school in Johannesburg. That's what I think. I've got a list of 3 schools, honey. What do you think? You're leading.
Okay. Now, I understand where you're getting at now. So basically, the leadership that you're describing is basically a man that I would say old school, lead his house, right? He provides, but he's also involved with the direction and the vision of the household. Like that you mentioned school. So we say, okay, yeah, we got, our son, like you say, look into the schools. He said, hey, I saw these schools, hey, but what you think about that? And they come together a decision, but he's more involved with the kids, like to decisions of school. Like in my household, that's how it was. Like, my daughter's going to one school, and they say, you know what, it's not working. We need to start homeschooling. And then my wife, yeah, we need to start doing that, right? So you basically more involved decisions in the day-to-day
of the household. And having a vision. What's your vision for the family?
Yeah, you got to have a vision.
You got to have a vision.
Yeah, I believe
you got to set some goals. You got to have a vision. But also because it's a patriarchal society, a lot of women don't feel empowered to come up and say, hey, honey, this is the vision for this family. We're just not empowered that way here, right? But if he were to come to you and say, honey, let's talk about the vision. What do you think? Where do you think our family? I think our family should go this way, that way, that way. And she'll say, oh, that sounds great. Or, I heard of this. Of course, we hear things. We know things. We also do research very well. But to be able to have somebody that speaks into that, having a vision for your family, that's huge. Set some goals for the family. Not only like you and yourself and financial, and because I think the society is very high on the man providing financially, and that's fine. But there's more to it. There really is more to it than providing financially, than making sure you go to work. Because you go to work, you come back, I mean, there's a lot of things about culture that I don't personally agree with, you know. But there's some cultures that will take a man's shoes off at the door, you know, sit him down and don't bother daddy anymore. He's coming from work and he puts his feet up and we bring him his food and, you know, like we kneel down and wash his hands. Wow, like
I've seen that with some cultures on the continent. I wouldn't feel comfortable with it. You know, I'm just saying I wouldn't feel comfortable with it because, like, in some cultures, like some women would get on their knee, you know, and I'm like, I was like, oh no, you don't do that because I think you only get on your knee to God, right? Exactly. Now some guys will think, oh man, that's awesome. Like I wouldn't want that, you know. Exactly. No, but I know exactly what you're talking about, and that's kind of like really how it is in my household. Like me and my wife work very well together, but you know, I do lead. But my wife may say, hey, I don't know about that. Yeah. And usually when she say she don't know about something, I don't think you should do that. Usually, from my experience, she's been right, but she don't really buck against anything that I say too much unless she thinks something is wrong. And then, but at times she let me do it. She's like, well, I'm okay, do it. And then I have to come back, yeah, you was right. You know, like that. So I've learned over the years, you know, just to kind of, you know, we work together on everything. So even financially, you know, when we got together, I said, look, we put the money in one account. We're not doing this my money, your money thing. No, we work together. We're going to do my money and your money. We don't even need to be married, right? Because there's no hiding things here or whatever. So I get what you're saying. I just think it sounds like it's a cultural difference.
It is a cultural difference.
A major cultural difference from, let's say, Black American culture, and this is what Black American men think, versus may say the culture here, or maybe just on the continent, let me say.
Maybe it is a cultural thing, but also is it not time for us to not necessarily amend the culture? You can't do that, but let's move with the times a little bit. Like, let's see what else is out there, because we have women in these homes with MBAs, right? Like, because also education is huge in on this continent. It's massive. Like, children must go to school, and then they go to university, and then they have an MBA, and then they, you know, if possible, their doctorate too, right? Like, you don't stop until you're at least done your MBA. There's so many well-educated women and men on this continent. So let's use that education even in our homes, even as we build our homes, and because that's the future. The future is in the people that we're raising. It's not in your education. The future is in these little people, because they're going to hold this continent up. It's not up to us.